Should the St. Louis Blues go after Rasmus Andersson, and why would he be a good fit on St. Louis's defense?
Hey, this is Brayden Chen. Subscribe to Locked On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. I am your host of Locked On Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today on Locked On Blues, I want to talk to you about a potential defenseman for the Blues that I think would be a really good fit to this team. It is the Swedish defenseman of the Calgary Flames, Rasmus Andersson. And I'm going to talk about why I believe that this is a great fit for the Blues. And we need to talk about the playoffs. Right now, I am finding myself very bored during the Stanley Cup playoffs as it is the conference finals. And I'm going to be biased, but I think that Blues-Jets series was one of the best series that we saw in the playoffs this season. We have a lot to get into. I'm going to break it all down for you. So let's talk about Rasmus Andersson and why I think he is a good fit for the Blues. You see, it's no question heading into this offseason, the one thing that the Blues need to do, the need to fix, it is the defense. And I think that it's very safe to say that a lot of the UFAs, while talented and good, they're not going to be game changers, right? Again, we know that the Blues can't really afford a player that's that expensive. And I know what you're saying. Hale, what do you mean? And let me break it down. I understand with his contract, right now, it's about 4.5 milli. That's a lot of money. I'm not denying that. But then we looked at players like an Ivan Provorov that were about a 6.5. So it got me thinking, well, while he won't be a UFA until next season, right? Why not make a trade now? And I feel like there's been a lot of speculation. My friends over at Locked On Senators talked about why he would not be a good fit for the Senators. However, I believe that he would be a good fit for the Blues. The one thing that the Blues really need is to find a guy that's good on the power play defensively, and that is something that they lost with Torrey Krug. Don't forget, Torrey Krug was our power play guy. We thought maybe Scott Perunovich would be able to fit into that role. He didn't. Obviously, they traded him to the Islanders. But point being is the Blues, they need a defenseman with a beautiful right-hand shot, may I add, who would thrive on the power play. And that's where Andersson at least comes into my mind. I think it's really easy to categorize certain players and just kind of put them into this box of, well, they're only good offensively. They're only good on the power play. Okay, well, while it is important that the Blues have more of a defensive mind type of player, which I agree that they should have, I'm also not going to deny the fact that the Blues' power play, while it was better at the end of the season, it struggled a lot throughout the regular season. And again, having that presence with Rasmus Andersson, I feel like would be very beneficial. You see, it's funny. He's an alternate captain, right, for the Flames, and that's the only team that he has been on. I mean, it's funny when we talk about these players, but the reality is that he, that's all he really has, right? I mean, he's 28 years old. And for me, I still feel like that is a good age. It's not like too young, but it's not too old yet, right? And let's go take a look back at him from this past season. He played in 81 out of 82 games, 11 goals, 20 assists, 31 points. He had 60 penalty minutes, but what's most impressive is his time on ice, which averaged to about 24 minutes. He had 163 shots. He had one game-winning goal. So for me personally, I really like that. Not necessarily the penalty minutes, as I mentioned, but I do like the fact that he does contribute a lot on ice. And for a defenseman to have 163 shots throughout the season, in my opinion, it is very good. But let's go look at his total career because this is what to me is most impressive about him. He played in 536 games with 47 goals, 148 assists, 231 points. Penalty minutes, again, high, 279. But again, his average per game after 536 games is 21 minutes and 37 seconds. He had 976 shots on goal, 9 game-winning goals. So for me personally, this to me screams top pairing defenseman for the Blues. And when you're playing about 24 minutes in a hockey game, that's where you need to be. So I know what you're thinking. Okay, Hale, what do we do? Right now, it's Cam Fowler and Colton Parayko. I understand the dilemma. I get the situation. However, you would bump Cam Fowler down. Okay. Again, keep in mind, I'm already counting out Justin Folk and Nick Leddy. So just again, keep that in mind. By the way, this past season, he had an outstanding 196 blocked shots and 36 hits, which was really good. Okay. So for me personally, I feel like he just brings a lot of value. And again, this is a move that the Blues really should consider making. Now, I feel like the one thing that might make Blues fans hesitant right now is the extension, right? He's going to be a UFA next season. What do you do? If it works out well, then you just have to honestly extend him for what it's worth. I mean, in the 2022-2023 season, he recorded 21 power play points. However, the following season, 23-24, that declined. But again, he's been fine, right? Again, 21 power play points is great, and that's something that he should feel ashamed of by any means. I just feel like at the end of the day, players are going to fluctuate. So yes, maybe it wasn't necessarily the best. However, it is what it is. But again, I just want to tell you this. When you're averaging 24 minutes on ice, that's not a small number. We see that a lot from Colton Parayko. We see that a lot from even Cam Fowler time to time, more so Colton Parayko. And that's why for me, I kind of feel like you need to give him a chance and you need to give him an opportunity. And for the Blues, that's why it just comes down to this. Is the money worth spending? And I kind of laugh a little bit, but obviously the Blues were comfortable spending money on Justin Folk and Nicoletti, Scott Perunovich at the time, a Tyler Tucker, a P.O. Joseph. The list goes on and on. People complained about the money that was spent for Philip Broberg, and while I understand that, yes, maybe he is overpaid, and I can say that, not by much, honestly, like maybe $500,000 in my opinion, I still feel like getting Andersson would just benefit this team in so many ways. I watched a lot of Flames hockey, and I'm sure you did as well, because they were battling for that second wildcard spot, which we got, by the way. And I was able to see Andersson's game, and I really do like how he plays. So when I saw that these rumors were kind of circulating and that maybe he would be up to be traded, that's when my brain just began kind of clicking. You see, I am a firm believer 1 month from now will be the second day of the NHL draft. And I'm telling you, the Blues are going to trade their 19th overall pick. This is my trade proposal. Call me crazy, but this is what it would be to get Andersson. You get rid of the 19th overall. The Blues don't need it, honestly. You package a Nick Leddy or Justin Folk. You don't want to keep them together. I would separate them because, again, like the value in that wouldn't be crazy. And then maybe you would throw in a guy like a Nathan Walker, maybe a Sonny. I don't want Oscar Sundqvist or Nathan Walker to leave, but I don't want any of our young guys that are going to be superstars leave as well. Like, you're not going to get rid of Dvorsky. You're not going to get rid of Snuggie. Not going to get rid of Bolduc. Now, a Jake Neighbors, not this season, but if things don't like get going for him, I could see him being traded in the future. But I don't want to write him off now because I still feel like there's something special about him that we have maybe kind of yet to see. But at the end of the day, the Blues need to improve their defense. Why not get a guy who would be a great 1B alongside Colton Parayko? The reality is, and I hate to say it, but the reality is the money should not be a factor in this decision, because let's face it for how it is. You're not going to get many good players for like a couple million, right? Like, especially defense. And if so, then you might as well just kind of keep the players that you have now. I mean, he had a 6-year, $27.3 million contract with the Flames. He signed that January 8th, 2020. Crazy how that was almost 6 years ago. And AAV, it is 4.55 mil, as I mentioned. And then he will be a UFA at 29 years old, even though prior to that, I do believe that it could be possible. Now, here's the thing. He does have a no trade clause, and that began on July 1st of last year of 2024. And he did modify it. And I still believe, and this is like my belief, players can change it all the time, right? Like, I've seen it before. Like, I've experienced a lot of hockey where, players decide I only want to play here. But right now, here's the 6 teams. You have, and this is reports, it's not fully out there, the Ottawa Senators, the Edmonton Oilers, and the Vancouver Canucks. Well, what do they all have in common? They're all Canadian teams, which to me says, hey, maybe he just wants to play on a Canadian team. However, my argument will be this. Don't you want to play on a team that is going to win you a Stanley Cup? And that is my pitch as to why Rasmus Andersson should come to the St. Louis Blues. We have more to talk about with the playoffs because honestly, I'm finding myself super bored and disinterested in them. But one thing that I'm not disinterested in is my friends over at Wonderful Pistachios. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help you keep feeling fuller longer. Today, I was at the grocery store and I was walking around, and all of a sudden I see a little label for Wonderful Pistachios, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like, it's everywhere now. And I love Wonderful Pistachios, but the best way that I get my Wonderful Pistachios is online on their website, because I get it shipped right to my house and I can have it all the time. Again, so much protein. And I know for all of my snackers, when you're snacking, you want to still be mindful of what you're eating. So definitely eat something with some protein in it. I'm sure the hockey players eat this as well. So again, get cracking and get snacking and visit wonderfulpistachios.com. I have found myself very bored and very disinterested during the conference finals. You see, you have the Florida Panthers, as I'm recording this right now, who are up 3-1 in their series against the Canes. The Canes had 15 consecutive Eastern Conference final losses. You then have the other series with the Edmonton Oilers, who are up 3-1 against the Dallas Stars. Dallas, I am very disappointed in you because I did not want Edmonton to win. I think Connor McDavid is a great player, one of the best that I'm ever going to watch play the game of hockey. However, let's face it. And again, I feel like this is just like a hockey thing, but me being in the United States, we have like this ongoing thing with Canada where it's like, we don't want a Canadian team to win and like whatever. It's like a whole thing. But again, I would be very happy for Edmonton fans. I think they're actually a great fan base, a very passionate fan base. But again, I just expected a lot more out of Jake Ottinger and the Dallas Stars. Anyways, it got me thinking to the playoffs this year. What series was the best series so far? You can make the argument that it was the Panthers Maple Leafs. I disagree personally. I would like to make the argument that it was the Blues and Jets. And I'm going to tell you why. Not just because I'm a Blues fan, but just if I was an objective NHL fan. You have a team like the St. Louis Blues, who are the 8th seed going against the 1 seed, right? Winnipeg takes the first 2 games. You go to St. Louis, and guess what the Blues do? They not only take the next 2 games, games 3 and 4, they play so well that the starting goalie who's going to be winning the Vezina trophy gets pulled in both of those games. Like, I'm sorry. That is insane. Bushi got a hat trick in one of the games. Like, I'm just saying, like, it was very entertaining hockey. So the series is tied 2-2, right? You go back to Winnipeg. Guess what the Jets do? They win. Newsflash, they win. Then you go back to St. Louis. The Jets, they have the opportunity to win this whole series. They do, right? While they didn't play great in the Lou, they're up. If they win just one more game, they would win the series, and there would not be a game 7. The Jets lose, and Connor Hellebuck gets pulled yet again. The Blues force a game 7. They head back to Winnipeg. And they were up. They were up for most of the game. Everyone's like, oh, the game's over. The Blues are going to upset the Jets, the President Trophy winning Jets. And with 1.6 seconds left, the Jets score a tying goal, sending this game to overtime, which both teams did not score in the first OT, which then led to a double overtime, which for me personally, if I was not a Blues or a Jets fan, I would say this is so great. As a Blues fan, I was freaking out. Rightfully so, because the Blues lost the game. But tell me that isn't cinema. I can take the loss. I can wear it because you know what? My team, they had a 12-game win streak that got them into the playoffs. They were not supposed to be there. They were not the better team. The Jets should have won in 4 or 5. I'm sorry, they should have. But the Blues, they kept on fighting. They never lost at home, by the way. So the Blues are undefeated at home in the playoffs this year, which no other team can say that they are. So let's go Blues. I had to throw that in. But the reality is, it's a very simple reality. What has surprised you since? I'm not surprised. I like upsets. I like Cinderella stories. And now we're going to be having a rematch of last year. Now, again, I feel like I have seen the Panthers in the playoffs, in the finals specifically, for way too long. I'm kind of sick of it, but I like Matthew Tkachuk. So that's what keeps me interested, and that's what keeps me kind of rooting for the Panthers because of Matty Tkachuk. When it comes to Edmonton, I don't want them to win because the Edmonton fans were very nasty about Dylan Holloway not playing in the playoffs when he had to get surgery. I know that's on all the fans, but hey, listen, beef is beef. I just think that this is very boring. I expected a lot more out of Dallas, but this is also typical Dallas Stars hockey where they play great. And then when it matters, and I'm not saying that the playoffs beforehand don't matter. Obviously, the first couple of rounds matter, right? There's only 4 teams left. But they do this thing where they kind of just choke. And again, I'm looking at these goalies who I think Stuart Skinner's playing the best. No. Do I think Ottinger is? No. Do I think Bob is? Yes, I think Bob is great. Frederik Andersen, not so. I mean, listen, it is what it is. Florida's the more aggressive team. There is no denying about that. I just think at the end of the day, the playoffs have bored me. And the one series that caused the most uproar on social media of people watching was the Blues and the Jets. It was. And that's the reality. And I think for me, you could look back at the Jets and the Stars, but I really think it's the whole story of having a team that's not supposed to be there. Dallas was supposed to be there. Winnipeg was supposed to be there. If the Wild upset the VGK, that would have been interesting, but they obviously didn't. I just think that there has been a lot of boring hockey. Again, I'm hoping that the Stanley Cup Finals go to a Game 7. I do. I just don't understand maybe how a series in the first round was more of an entertaining factor than the conference finals. I'm happy, honestly, that Florida didn't win the other game because if there was a sweep, I would have honestly crashed out. For me personally, do I think Brind'Amour is going to stay as head coach of the Canes. Probably not. Again, it's great that you get to the Eastern Conference Finals. However, at the end of the day, if you continue to lose and your team isn't making it to the finals, then like there's an issue. I think the Canes are also an older team, as I mentioned, like guys like Brent Burns, right? And we can have those conversations of who from those teams would you want on the Blues? Because that is a reality. But right now, I am very disappointed in the product. And I think about the product that the NBA puts on, the NFL especially puts on, even the MLB. And it's just a better product because you see more upsets. Now, with the NFL this year, my team, the Eagles, they won the whole thing. I was there. I got a tattoo. Like, that's awesome. I'm not going to, hate on that. But it was a rematch of the Chiefs and the Eagles, but yet the season prior, we didn't have that same, what I'm saying? It was like a rematch of like a couple seasons ago. So the point being is, I wouldn't have been upset if it was like Panthers Edmonton next season, but back-to-back seasons with the same two teams, for whatever reason, just kind of drives me away. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I don't really watch the NBA like that. I don't like what the helly burden, what the helly I don't. Maybe I'm showing my age, whatever. But I guess it's entertaining. I mean, like, people tune in. Like, that's what's up. I know Jokic isn't in anymore, I don't think. Like, the Nuggets got eliminated. Like, it is what it is. And people really seem to like the Knicks and Pacers series. I personally just don't really care because I feel like if you're a hockey person, you don't really like basketball. And then with baseball, I'm huge into baseball. I am. And again, I'm always, for whatever reason, I'm entertained by the product that I see. So for me, that's fine. I like Shohei Ohtani. I wasn't upset last year about it. It was kind of like a long time coming. But I like when different teams face each other in the finals. And I think back to when we won the cup against the Bruins. And obviously that was ideal situation. We go to a game 7. Well, ideal, like looking back, like if we lost, it wouldn't have been ideal. But like we go to a game 7. The Blues weren't supposed to be there because we really sucked most of the season. Let's say it for how it is. We win the whole thing and it was great. I just want more of surprise type of series where we don't expect it coming. And I think for me, as a consumer of the game of hockey, as somebody who loves hockey, and I talk about hockey for a living, St. Louis Blues hockey, I wish more of the series were like Blues Jets. It was a physical series on both ends. I'm sure many were surprised about Connor Hellebuck being pulled in 3 games in that series, which was insane to me that even happened. But again, that is my opinion. I do this podcast. I talk to you every single day about the Blues and about what they can do to improve or whatever. We rant. I went on like a 45-minute rant after they lost that game 7. Crazy to think it was still in the same month that we're in now. But again, I'm more calm about what happened because I do understand that the Jets were the better team. I get it. I'm annoyed by it, but I get it. I understand it. Doesn't mean I'm happy about it, but hey, what can you do? You get to look forward to next season. And that is why, concluding this episode, is why the Blues to try to trade for Rasmus Andersson. I will talk to you all tomorrow about maybe the draft if the Blues don't trade away that 19th overall. But until then, like always, let's go Blues.